she allows to be meaningful and respectful. But you also get us insight that we might be able to better help move this cause. Not only here at OSU, but throughout this nation. These are God's words that we in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Before we start the resolution, I want to make a point of order. So everybody, please put your cell phones on vibrate. Okay, thank you. Now, everybody stand up toward the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Thank you.
Can I have the stewards identify themselves?
Tony Brown, Medical Center.
Oh, okay.
Miracle Long, can you identify yourself?
Miracle Law Medical Center.
Lynn Corrigan, student life.
Kevin Key, Student Life. Kevin Key, President is out ill. He will not be here, so he's excused. Ms. Stewart is here.
They're in the back. No, sir, minutes are in the back where I'm making extra copies. All right.
Hey Larry, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Yes, fine.
Questions, comments, concerns as far as on the minutes, as far as their need for corrections?
All right, well, let's go there first.
Okay, as far as like on the paragraph, on the statement on the phone banking part, it state the is, it should be there is phone banking at Ohio FLC, I know it's 395 Broad Street on two, but it should be saying, and it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays, not just Tuesdays. That needs to be correct.
Well, we thank you, Wayne, for catching that.
Any other concerns with the minutes? Got that, man?
Look at my motion, go forward.
We'll do it all again. Motion to approve the minutes as amended. Motion to approve the minutes as amended. I'm going to say it.
Wait, Crawford.
Lane Crawford moves the amendment. Can I get a second, please? Second by Paul. Paul, give your last name.
Willis.
Can we have a vote to approve the minute? Vote. Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All who oppose? As I stated, President is out ill. Been out at least 6 days, actually last week. So he's been out the last 2 weeks. Was in the hospital for a week. Got out of the hospital on Monday morning, it was really Sunday morning. He's been at home still recuperating. So I ask that you all keep him in your prayers. And we hope to have him back soon. President's report. Due to the fact that he was out, I would give a report, but it would not be the President's report, but I would give a report.
Treasurer's report.
I didn't know how he was coming,
I want to wait until the executive board looks it over and approves it before I present it to the general membership, so that'll be next.
Yeah. Need a motion to defer passing out the treasury report until it has been presented to the E-Board. There was no E-Board meeting this Thursday, so I need a motion to move, delay presenting that to you before it's seen by the E-Board. Motion moved by Wayne, second by Lane Cornegay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those who oppose, say motion passed. In our last meeting, we talked about having right-to-work training. And one of the many participants that we could get to this right-to-work training. That training took place right here at the hall. It was held on a Thursday evening. Matter of fact, it was last Thursday. I believe we had about 18 folks in attendance, made up of locals 4310 and 4501. In a workshop for just about an hour and a half. We discussed various ways in which we could form coalitions to move the union movement forward. We also talked about how we begin to frame the conversation for right to work, and how we make it about, not just about unions, but we make it about community. We make it about family. We make it about what the effect of right to work will do to those local business owners. If we only frame the conversation about unions, we have discovered that we will lose. That's not a conversation that we win. We must make it personal, and we must show its damaging effect to those that we're speaking about. We also were informed that in right to work states, on average, a family brings home at least $650 to $750 less a month. And we have to begin to speak to our local business owners in relationship to how that will affect their business. If a family is short an extra $600 or so a month, they have to then make choices where they begin to spend their economic dollars. And often you have to begin to cut back on those extracurricular things. You have to begin to cut back on going out to have a meal, going out to have a movie. So it's not really about union. Those effects are damaging, and how it helps destroy neighborhoods and communities, and how people have to move. And you find out that your community, your town, your city, your neighborhood now has foreclosures all over the place. People are moving out. The effects will have on your, right there on your street. So we were taught how to frame that particular conversation, and we hope soon to have another training where we can do that again. Also, coming up in May, there will be a legislative conference in Washington, D.C., May 6th, 7th, and 8th. At that point in time, we will get together with over 100 key leaders around the nation. And they will be from various groups, from community faith, consumer groups, environmental groups, student groups, in which we all will convene in Washington, D.C. and begin to move what we hope to eventually turn into a $50 million people plus movement. As unions, as we spoke at the last meeting, we're down to about 7% of the workforce in America. That is alarming. And we have to find a way, and the only way we can move agendas today is to have coalitions, to have partners. We have discovered that we can't do it alone. So when we get to Washington, D.C., we'll be lobbying all your state senators, your state representatives. We'll go to their office. We'll bring our concerns and issues, but we will not do that alone. We'll do that with religious leaders, community leaders, the Sierra Club. We'll all be there. We will spend, I believe, Wednesday afternoon for approximately about 2 to 2.5 hours just visiting our state representatives. And then later on in the evening, we have private sessions where we meet with those who are specifically from Ohio. And we entertain them and we bring our issues to them. We have discovered that many of the issues that we fight for now are either lost, won, or gained at the State House, down at the courthouse. So we too have to be at the State House. We too have to be at the courthouse. And we know and we believe that a right-to-work legislation is coming to Ohio, and we intend to be ready to fight that back as we work for SB 5. But we also know that we cannot do it alone, and SB 5 is not a movement in which we moved alone, and neither can right-to-work. And right-to-work is a terminology that is used that makes it seem as if they are attempting to give us more rights in the workplace. So I'll just ask you, when was the last time that someone spent hundreds of millions of dollars to give you more rights? It just doesn't happen. They don't spend hundreds of millions of dollars to give you more rights. If they want to give you more rights and more workplace freedom, they would just do it. You don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. So we have to be able to even begin to talk about that. And once I say begin to frame that conversation into the damaging effects of what that does and will do to our community, our streets. Just make it personal. Our churches, what that will do, what the damaging effects will have in those particular areas. One of the main things in the state of Ohio that has been occurring is voter rights and tax on voter rights. And we have to begin to also educate our workforce, our community on those attacks. And those attacks are being made point blank to slow down the vote. We vote on SB 5, we have early voting. We vote for the president, those local leaders office, we have early voting, and those turn out mass numbers. The elimination of those days, they believe, will make it more difficult for you to vote, will cause lines to be extremely long, which they hope will deter you and turn you back. We have to get out and do voter registration, which I hope that many of you will volunteer for. Our churches are helping to lead that way. As a coalition that has jumped in with us, they have already presented the names we need in order to have the ballot language that was collected by most of our churches in the state of Ohio. But now we need to be able to get out and say that we want to begin to put that on a constitutional amendment so that there can be no more attacks to our voter rights. So we'll be asking and seeking volunteers, make phone calls, to go out and sign people up, stand on street corners, all of those particulars. It's very, very, very important that we're able to turn back the attacks on our voter rights. change it. Houston signed that law. So
Right.
not the fact that you won't get
Right.
two,
Right.
that those times will be made shorter.
Right.
This week in student life, I believe it occurred on Wednesday. There was racial graffiti left inside of a break room. Caused a big uproar. There were police and all kinds of campus leaders there. They got inside the employee break room, left on the blackboard, we hate blacks, Jews, and sticks. Went inside the refrigerator, ate all their food, and what they didn't eat, they turned upside down.
Good God Almighty.
I believe that this is the second such act in the last 12, 15 months. There was an attack on Frank Health Center before it closed, or right before it opened. We met with those particular employees on Thursday, tried to reassure them in regards to all that the university is doing to try to confront that, reassure them that we're trying to do everything we can to make them as safe as possible. They were concerned in regards to really being harmed and for their safety. They brought up things like Fort Hood or Virginia Tech and other mass shootings and wondering if they would be, and if they were in danger and expressing fear for their own welfare. I tried to assure them that the university was doing all they could do. But it would be extremely difficult for anyone to be able to point out who would be a shooter. But I encouraged them to keep their eyes open. I encouraged them to watch the students that they work with, to pay attention to them, to observe their behavior. And if they saw anything that appeared to be strange, that was out of the ordinary, or that they thought was suspicious, to make someone aware and to make them aware immediately. It gave them some ease, but yet they are still uneasy. I asked the university to meet with them, the police force, and some of the others that come down and have a meeting with them to also reassure them of their safety and all that they're doing to make them safe. I believe that meeting will occur first this upcoming week, but I will be pressing to make sure that meeting does occur and that they have that direct interaction with the university. And then I began to explain to them, which I often explain to everyone. They wanted to know really what was our role in making them safe. And I just began to give them and to tell them that our role is also their role, to be on guard, for them to report everything that they see. That as Kevin, myself, or the union itself, we can't police the student body or those who come in. We have to leave that to the police force, to the campus force. But they have to help aid us. They have to participate in making us aware of what happens to be occurring, any suspicious behavior. One of them reported some things that were suspicious, and I informed him to make the administration aware of that, to give us those notes. The comments were made to him, to let him directly believe that that was on the people who was in his break room. That he could not keep that to himself, but to share that information. Make the university aware of the comments who made it to you, and if you can, where that student stays, where that student resides inside that dormitory. These things are real. These things are occurring. I told them that they are charged every day with creating and giving an extraordinary experience. And that's what we like to say in student life. We are here to give an extraordinary experience. So I shared with them in the process of getting that extraordinary experience, we should also ourselves have an extraordinary experience when we're at work. We should be treated in the same manner in which we're expected to give. And I've also shared that with the administration. And they assured me they're doing everything they can and looking at that process, and will convene with them at the start of the week. That concludes our president's report.
Somebody's phone.
That's Dale.
That's what Dale's
The
wife.
restroom or something.
If he wins, he has to do it. And he's got a $5 Coke on it.
$5 out of his winning bet, if he wins.
Any questions in regards to President's report? Wayne?
Go ahead, please, Paul, you have his hand up first.
Lee?
Yeah, I just got a thing, I was looking at my thing where they was telling me where to vote, and it said on the front of it, says, congratulations, like I won a prize, and I was thinking, well, isn't this supposed to, I guarantee your right to vote, but it says on here, congratulations. Right to vote?
Let me know that you're still registered. And they haven't kicked you out the system, and that, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that they use that word, congratulations.
Well, with all the attacks on voter rights, congratulations to Wayne and Jim Lynn.
Referring to the question about what happened in that break room,
Right.
will that pertain to having a new black president as far as that OSU? I mean,
I don't think that the two, I don't believe relate. They identified themselves as one of the sororities at a university, and so they put that information on the board. I mean, it could be an erroneous message. It could be they just identifying that particular group, but they left some things to identify themselves. They didn't mention the president, so I won't attempt to point it towards the president or at the president. And as I stated before, when they defaced Frank Hale Center, there was no black president, so I won't state that that's directly related to the president. When you put on a board that made black, Jews, and Spits, that's a broad range, so I won't relate that to the president. Lynn and Dan.
I was a little bit irritated when the manager came the next day, because he wasn't there the day that it happened. And then he, to me, kept his employees, or incited to his employees, to keep them in uproar the whole day, that made it unruly, and then kept calling me in the office twice to want to know, where is the union? Why aren't y'all doing anything? Like I told him, and I explained to him, when it happened, you had everybody here that needed to be here. You had, instead of directing it toward his administration, his bosses and all, to the university, their thing was to bash the union behind this incident. And so that really irritated me, because they kept going around, well, y'all weak, you're weak, the union ain't doing anything. But what was the union? Well, I didn't understand it at all, because you had the police, you had the heads of the university over housing, you had the management, heads of management staff there, you had housing managers there, they had everybody of any importance They came out. They were there for the issue. My thing of it is, the only thing you all have to do is let the system work for itself. They left enough evidence there that more than likely these kids will be caught. My thing of it is the bash the union behind it. I didn't understand how that correlated with us to bash us behind the writing on the wall instead of taking it back to the university.
The only thing that I would say, I want to answer that, Dave, and I'll get to you. Whenever we have our representatives and we hear that those kind of things are going, those kind of things are occurring, you have the opportunity to begin to change the conversation, to frame that conversation in a different light. It's just like having the right to work talk. So when you get there and you hear that those things are being stated, you hear that those things are being spoken, then you now go on the offense. You then begin on going the directive. You change that conversation. So I got there. I heard those particulars. I sat down and I met with them, and I made them aware of, plain and simply, in this particular situation, what they could expect from not only the union leadership, but out of themselves, and from the leadership of the university. So it gives an opportunity for us to begin to educate them and get them also to understand the environment in which they're working in. That's a group, as you identified, and that we know that predominantly, due to some of the closures inside of Dining Campus Service, came out of DCS.
Right.
And they are not and that familiar with working in the culture of Red Life. And so I began to explain to them what the police function was, what the administrative staff's function was, and to a greater degree, what their focus does not move from that incident. That the concerns that they have are addressed by the administration. What their role is in the process, to help aid, if they can, the investigation, to report all that they know. But also, due to the fact I was not informed. I did not know that this event would take place until like 4 o'clock that evening, 4:15, and that's because I saw Arthur Smith. But also, Arthur asked me, did I know? So I made them aware, you all dropped the ball. It's your responsibility when something occurs like that to make us know, aware of it immediately. They were under impression and said, well, Kevin, we thought you knew. And I told them, you are my eyes and ears. That's your responsibility. You are my eyes. That's why you're here. I'm counting on you to tell me what is occurring. I made that point blank clear to them. I said, you saw all those people. Kevin, we thought they told you. And I went right back, I'm counting on you to tell me. Because I didn't get a call from administration until the next morning. But I informed them by then I had already knew. So I put some onus on them. You are upset because I didn't hear what happened in your break room. I am upset at you because you didn't make me aware. You have a responsibility while you're here to make sure that what is occurring, you share. You're walking around here wondering where I'm at. Lynn was there. You were there. You represent, you represent leadership within the union.
Right.
But they are the union.
But
They are the union.
I had the conversation.
I
Same way you said that you tried to
I understand you had it.
I gave them that conversation.
I want to let you know that I got through with them. They were pleased.
Well, probably because it came from your mouth.
But I needed them to understand
Yeah.
that they have a duty. And that's why I began to tell them the things that they needed to do to help aid this process, to aid this investigation, help aid the police officers if they could, to share what they know with the administration staff, so it can be given to the police force and to those who are investigating this particular incident. But I also gave them ways to keep themselves safe. They spoke about their break room being left open 24 hours a day. And I told them that's the only break room that I've ever known of that's open 24 hours a day. Why isn't it locked?
Right,
Why do people just have unlimited access to your personal space?
right.
I shared with them that this is where the students reside. This is their home. So yes, they have access. And you're in there, you're in their home. You're in there just because that is actually where they live. That is their residence. But your break room is a private space. It's the one space that belongs to you. So they shared some things with me that they often beat their manager to work and they couldn't get their keys and they couldn't start their day, that break room wasn't open. Well, I shared with them about your responsibility to open up. Manager's responsibility to open up.
Right.
Because you never know what you're going to walk into. The manager's responsibility to walk into the facility, to turn on the lights, to make sure it's safe, to make sure it's secure. I turned it back on them. That's not your responsibility to be the first one in the building, to turn on the lights, to open the doors. That's management's responsibility. And not only is it their responsibility to beat you, to make sure the environment is safe for you to walk into. We have many locations in student life where we're there very early in the morning, we're there first, and sometimes when the manager gets there, it's maybe just 2 or 3 of us there. And if those facilities are left unlocked, can be entered by anyone, then our members are in danger. So I shared that with them. And I told them, the next time you get here and the building is not secure, don't go in. We'll make a phone call. Report that you feel unsafe. But also, demand that your break room be locked.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
Demand that it be locked during the day. I spoke to them how just about every break room I enter or environment, I got to knock on the break room door. That's about I have to knock on this one. So I left them with some things in which they help themselves. Things that they should have known, but as I stated, that group was from DCS. And I'm sure they had a conversation with the manager. And I'll be, like I say, pressing to make sure that that meeting occurs early this week, or in the first of this week, in relationship to some interaction or response to that particular group about their safety. And now we'll go to my friend David.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm glad thanks for sticking up for the union in a safety situation that all staff should have known about. I'm wondering if when you go to this subsequent meeting, a point shouldn't be made about the union and its officers being kept in the dark on the situation, as well as taken to task about what they were doing and kind of badgered. I don't know what I'm worried about more, the idiocy of the event you're talking about and the bigotry that might be behind it, or the fact that the union's taken to task when people aren't informed and procedures aren't followed. So I think the membership could back up the leadership at this point. One of the best things that Richard Murray, our president, ever said one time to management, I can't remember the occasion, but one time he said, our membership wouldn't like it. And I think that was a really important thing that he said, and I think it's also true of this incident. Our membership wouldn't like it. Normally, when there's a crime on campus or anywhere near campus, I'm signed up for an email that I get warning me about situations, asking me if I might have information. And I look at those emails and I put them in a file. Lots of times there'll be about attacks on campus. But this seems to be an attack. And I'm wondering if when you go to this meeting, you can't ask that any time the campus police are contacted and there's an investigation that might affect union members or staff here, that the normal email process for informing people about crisis be used. Because today is the first time I've heard about this incident. So if you weren't offended by If you were offended by finding out about it at 4 o'clock, I'm offended to find out it's happened twice, and I didn't know about it once through the normal channels that management did not use. Would that be suitable to take to your meeting?
I think that's extremely suitable.
Then I had another comment about your report in general. And I wanted to say about, I think most of us signed the right to work pledge thing, and I'm totally with those endeavors, and I believe in that. Another thing that's happened is there are very conservative justices in the Supreme Court in this country, and there's a recent ruling that's come through the Supreme Court that makes it much easier for big money to be involved in politics.
Oh, yeah.
Just so everybody knows, it's very important to figure out what your interests are when you vote, and to vote, and to keep attuned to what's going on at the macro level in the organization. There are all kinds of initiatives in the union at large, raising the minimum wage, immigration policy, so-called right-to-work initiatives. There's kind of an anti-labor offensive in the country, and the Supreme Court justices, 5 of whom are very conservative in this country, have ruled against the entire population as far as I see it, and made big money, kind of on a free speech basis, a player in electoral politics. Our one access to democracy in the country that's meaningful for all unions everywhere. They've made big money. They've made it easier to play for big money. Kasich, Governor Kasich, as I understand it, is one of the guys that's already out begging for some of the money. So people have to be alert on electoral politics and just the points you made. Now, another point I made that didn't make the minutes, but I wanted to say, unless we get our act together locally, unless we fight our own issues, we're going to be in trouble, because what the right wing is trying to do to organize labor is such a distraction. It could be that we're all running for the State House as they're setting fire to the university. And we don't want that to happen, because we've got our own issues. Among those issues, and I took an outline to the executive board via Dennis Woodson on the 25th of January. The executive board didn't quite get the information, but one of the points I was trying to make is we can fortify our grievance process and some of our internal workings that are good but could be improved where management is not performing to make things better. And one example that I brought up last month was we had a temporary who was brought on West Campus stores who'd been there 2 years working all the jobs. Finally got hired. But our temporaries are part of the crisis here for the community. So unless we bring those issues home, nobody's going to raise them but us. Another issue that came up in the same vein on local issues, it's mentioned in the minutes that all preventative visits, tests, and treatments are covered under our insurance. Well, maybe in addition to being alerted about crime events on campus, we should petition for a listing of which preventative treatments, tests are covered, because we have meetings about that, if I'm not mistaken. And that information could be clear rather than received in code at your home when you get the bill from the physician for something you thought was preventative. Would that be a reasonable petition to the university to get a clear, user-friendly sense of how we might use our health care? I continue to pay for preventative services. I've got some coming up because I've just turned 60. But they're a shock to me, and it's a shock to me that I don't get the information until I get the bill, and then the bill is questionable. So I think our local could petition for a list of just what tests are preventative, just what things are covered and what things are not. Is that possible?
Okay, let me ask you several of those. Okay. We do have a seat on what's called the HPOC committee. HOC, Health Oversight Committee, in which there are a group of university leaders, deans, presidents, executive vice presidents, and all who come together just about every month and discuss issues and all dealing with the health plan. Discuss and speak about how the Affordable Care Act is something that everyone around the nation is responding to in relationship to the healthcare costs and its concerns and issues. But one of the many things that we speak about, and I'm your representative on that committee, one of the many things that we speak about is communication and getting out information to the staff to make them aware or more aware what is available to them in the services that they can get for free. So that is something that they are spending a great deal of time on just that, and trying to figure out what is the proper form in which to get that done. We started, when it was actually started in student life, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, doing blitzes, where we would go around and speak to everybody, encourage them to begin to get into the health plan, to take your, I want to call it PAC or whatever it may be, PHA, but we begin to encourage them, and not encourage them, but walk them through, have dialogue, answer all questions, but yet we still didn't get down to what we like to call the meat and potatoes. That these things, for your high blood pressure, you know, you could get free medicine. For your heart disease, you could get free services. If you make a certain income level, you can get subsidized care. So there is a great need to begin to target those areas, to begin to push that communication out, because it's just real. Those are normally the areas that drive the majority of the costs and what they consider to be in the health plan. But I informed them, as you spoke to me. Now, I've been informing them for quite some time. You have to make the people aware. It's not enough just to say, fill out your PHA. Give me your blood numbers. Because to me, which I shared with them personally, that's like herding cattle. You just want numbers to say that people have signed up for the plan. And this year, if you didn't sign up, there were penalties that will make your health care costs greater. So people flock to the program to save them money. But we have to begin to use the program to save our health, to improve our health. Not just to save a couple of dollars each month, but begin to use it and be educated how to use it for our true wellness. Because that's ultimately what it should be about. And many people jump in because they didn't want their health care costs to go up $10, $15. So the numbers look great. Well, we got 97% of the whole university into the plan. But the plan is not being effective because you don't know effectively how to use it. You don't know what's inside of it that'll help address your immediate concerns. So there are groups that are formed and being formed who will begin to go out and have that direct conversation. But our concern is they want to do everything electronically. And I'm just going to say it. They want to send it out by email. They want to send it out by email blast. They like to mail it to you, which they often do. They mail it, they mail it, they mail it. They told us. But most of us throw the mail in the trash can. We have to tell the truth. We throw the mail in the trash can. As long as you see it, you don't open it. So I told them, I'm going to let you talk. But I shared with them, you need to do more than email blast. You have to do more than tell me you mailed it to everybody and we're mailing it, Kevin. We need some face-to-face, some at work time or lunch break. We need to rent out some of these rooms, not we, they will, and have them move over and get all the talks and speeches. Come talk about what's available for these chronic diseases, what medicines you can get for free. Let's create a culture that's speaking directly to those particular issues on the job. So that is coming, and that's really where right now the conversation is. And I'll come back to you, Dave, and then we're going to move forward.
As I mentioned last week, they've done a lot to inform people, and when I went for my last doctor visit, there was a self-check-in process where the message was clear. I couldn't continue with my doctor's visit unless I paid the previous bill I thought I owed, which I believe was preventative service, and I did not owe them money. So they were clear in my face about wanting their money and setting up their business. But it's plain to me when I go to my annual physical, the meter is running, and anything I might say might be encoded and billed to me as something other than a preventative care visit. So my initial question was, can we get a list in advance of any kind of medical treatment or whatever plan we've selected to be a part of what's preventative and what's not? If I go to the dermatologist to get a screening to prevent skin cancer, will I be making a copay? Will I be billed by the visit specialist I'm involved with? Is it fair to ask for a list? In addition to asking for them to notify people when there's an emergency on campus, is it fair to ask our healthcare people for a list of what's covered as preventative care?
I believe that it is fair to want to know what preventive care is. I do believe that can be an extremely broad topic, but I still believe that it's fair. But there are certain preventive things that most of them target. Let's say colonoscopy, mammogram, things of those natures. Do we say we need preventive care for our toenail or for fungus that might be on our toe? There are certain major ones that we know, and I'm sure they're shared right off the bat. And so, yes, we can access those preventive things, but that still comes into communication. It's all about making you aware, regardless of what it might be, as to what those wonderful things are inside that package. I want to give somebody else a shot first. If there's anybody else before I go back to my plan.
Would it be fair to say that the group that you get together just ask? Right.
No, see, we have asked. We asked to.
Oh, you asked about that?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a new topic, but they're telling me that they share those things. I'm going to say to you again.
Gotcha.
In letter, in email, and I'm saying that's not sufficient. They have to do more than that. So I'm asking them to go out to the workforce. I'm asking them to create the culture inside the workforce that speaks to those particular concerns. Wayne.
In pursuit of what he's commenting on, when it comes to that time when you have that very same meeting, you yourself attend that meeting and then...
You can't attend that meeting.
You can't?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. But, that's something, I would just take for granted that kind of meeting as far as it's in the workforce.
When it gets to the workforce, yes.
Yeah, that's when you should bring it up.
So could I expect this list at the next meeting, or?
I would not say that, because as the HPOC, I say we meet, supposed to meet once a month, sometimes meetings get canceled. I would not say that I'll be able to get to that meeting and say, because it might get canceled next month. That's just being upfront with you. Those things are generated by that group. I will say this to you, I will continue to press. I will continue to press, because our number one concern is I want them to take it to your job site. I want to take it to where you are working. As much as you're getting a list would be great, but I want some personal conversations to take place. There are people who we just identified on the job. We talk about obesity, and they state how obesity is such a great issue. So why are we going to work talking directly to the employee? We know that employee sometimes physically is struggling to do his or her task due to many of those chronic conditions. Why aren't we talking to him or her on the workforce about, if you can get this addressed, you get help for what you have that might help you to be able to do your job better, might allow you to work longer, might keep you from going to disability. those things need to happen on real time. And I'm going to push until I'm gone that happens on real time. I want them there talking to that young man who's actually almost struggling just anymore because he's allowed himself to get in such shape that he's struggling to walk up the steps. And that's real universal. That's struggling to keep pushing his vacuum cleaner. They got to sit down because can't do it. Can't shovel snow no more. I want it to happen on real time at work where he can hear it and be encouraged to go get what he needs to get.
Right. Well, for those who like that plan, that might be fine. I hope the union pushes for what I've asked for because I continue to make payments and co-payments for procedures that I feel and tests that I feel are preventative. So I would like to know concretely, rather than being given the opportunity to swipe my charge card in the lobby when I'm on my own or negotiate with the physician, I would like to know as plainly as the bills I get what's covered and what's not in advance, because I'm in the dark. But I wanted to say one more thing about local issues, because we've got some, particularly on safety at the university. On safety, I would say the university is not particularly helpful with job duties and job assignments via their classification system. And I've been told and reported to membership that their on-site physical therapist says that they are not required by federal law to follow physician recommendations when it comes to employee work assignments, that they are interested in restrictions and obligated there, either permanent or temporary restrictions, but recommendations do not suit them. And I think that kind of issue needs to be addressed as a local issue and as another example of things we need in place to get those things into gear for our next contract. Because our ability to fight our right to work, our ability to vote correctly and know depends on knowing what our issues are. The issue of job temporaries and contracting out, those are community issues that really need to be brought home by this local. And the safety issues and the classification issues are still on campus. One final example of something we might change that would make things better. In our contract, we can't grieve something that's already been grieved before. Well, if our grievances are stalled or delayed, if there's already been a grievance on a topic, we can grieve it again? Well, maybe my reading of the contract is wrong, and I'll withdraw that remark and check my contract again.
In essence, it's 8:43. I want to go past the motion, and I'll come right to you again. To extend. Can I get a motion to extend the meeting, please?
Right here.
Can I get a second, please? To extend the meeting, second by Commissioner Brown. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Okay, we need a hand.
Well, I want Gary to make a statement.
Yeah, on the health thing, I think we haven't been in several plans over the last 10 years. There's always there's a dispute place. In other words, there's a way to put a grievance in on the health plan. I don't know whether this one should have. I think they're required by law that you should have. Now, the question is whether the union can put their nose in that same process, even if there is a process. That's just my suggestion. That there might be something already out there that you're fighting on your own, that you've got a place to go, and you can bring your representative to dispute just those things. But I don't know that that's the case. If not, maybe there should be.
What often occurs, and trust me, it's not there, Dave. Dave, what often occurs if there are some issues, and you're having issues in relationship to your bill, which I think is a coding problem more than anything else, things being placed or, and that could be held by the people who administrate actually the billing of the charges. But your steward would really give a trip to 1590, third floor, is where benefits is, and that's where all the specialists and those who handle those things reside. If you go to 1590, you go to the 3rd floor, you can bring that bill and you get immediate attention to what is there. But if it's coded wrong, let's just say I'll make up three letters. I'll just say NSA. Often what occurs inside of the benefit plan, there are vendors who have certain responsibilities. This vendor is responsible for the billing. This vendor is responsible for the collecting. If one of those particular entities does something wrong, maybe coded it wrong, billed you wrong, whatever it may be, you still can take that up to the 3rd floor on High Street 1590. And they can then speak to directly what you've been charging and contact that vendor to get it right. It may not necessarily be the fact that they billed you that wrong intentionally, but it could have happened due to the coding, the administrator who's administrated that task on that given day put things in its wrong place. But if you get immediate attention and begin to put things on its proper course, 1590 3rd floor, High Street.
Or 292 1050.
And I'll show you, you get more. Okay?
Not okay, but that's the issue. I asked for a list of these things.
I know, but see, I want you to know you get an immediate answer. I made you know that list part, that's the easy part. When you get that bill and it's coded wrong, I also want you to be able to go someplace and get immediate attention and someone begin to address what's on that bill. Because that can happen. There are clerical errors. There are people make mistakes. So if you get something that is erroneous, where you may have been charged and things put in its wrong place, you need to go someplace immediately to get some attention on correcting what may be something that's in its wrong place.
True enough, I've done that before, and I've called the insurance company, the physician, and on an individualized basis, I've handled these things on my own. I think I mentioned at the membership meeting one time, I got billed $900 some in one of these. This is not a bill statement for an OBGYN exam. Everybody got a laugh out of it when I called to get the adjustment because they fixed it. But you're right, a lot of people do throw these bills away. So physicians, whatever they do that's valuable, or clerks in the physician's office, might be fishing for things that are not really there. And if you get the intimidating bill that says pay in 30 days, pay in 60 days, pay in 90 days, or we'll come get you, a lot of people just pay when it's not their job to pay. So I'd like to reemphasize, I'd like to list for the membership so they don't have to do this dance every time they get a bill. I'm making a lot of co-pays, I'm making a lot of payments. I have a lot of time to talk to on the phone because I've hit 60 and they want me to do a lot of tests and a lot of visits. And I'm doing them all. In fact, I need a ride to the next one coming up, and if I'm billed, I'll talk about it at the next union meeting, I promise, because it's preventative. And you've discussed it already. But it'd be nice to have the list in hand with as big a certainty as I have the bill in hand, or as big a certainty as they want me to swipe my charge card and negotiate with the physician when I go into the lobby of my doctor's office. That's individualized. I don't think that's the way the union should do.
Lynn.
I noticed with myself last year, I went in and got a physical. Out of the physical, then they send you to other doctors for preventive stuff. Then when you get to the preventive, then they have to do their testing, and then they order all these different tests. So you go in and you get all of these different tests that they need to come up with find the answer or a solution to what's going on with your body. In the meantime, you end up, which I ended up last year, ended up paying out of pocket, a total of $4,200
Good God Almighty.
and some dollars.
God,
Hey. Some of them tests, I mean, they don't pay all of it. So you get 80-20, whatever the scenario is. So your 20% of that, even though it was preventative when you started off, you ended up with all these different tests that you had taken. You ended up with medical bills. So that's what happens, I guess, in life with age. I don't know. But the university is paying less, I know, on those fees.
Let me say this about healthcare. Healthcare is not going to get cheaper. It is not going to get cheaper. All across the nation, every entity is trying to figure out how to do it, how to have it for less. There is a rush, excuse me, there is a rush as far as the corporations are concerned, and we call it a rush to the bottom. To do it for the least, most powerful money that you can do it for. They're trying to find ways to shave costs, but let me make that clear to you. That's the national trend. That's the nation trend. It's also one of the things inside the Affordable Care Act is called the Cadillac tax. The Cadillac tax says that if your plan is so rich, or collectively, if your groups, and that's everybody in the university, if on an average you spend out so much money for the individual participants, you will be penalized. That's in the law. So when I sit here and I say you have to get into politics, you need to vote, you need to make people aware that things are lost there. They are all reacting and attempting to respond to outside forces that are helping to drive these decisions. Also here at the university, we now are been inundated by really a nationwide insurance corporation. First it was AIG. Most of those from AIG have left. Now AIG has been switched with Nationwide. All those who used to work at Nationwide are now running and moving most of the things over there in the benefits department. One of the main things that they are doing is talking about how rich the benefit plan here is at OSU. And not only how rich it is, but how they need to cut it. How they need to cut it, bring it down, cut it, bring it down, cut it, bring it down. And even while they're cutting it, they're still saying that it is so much better than it is any place else. One of the things we spoke about the last meeting is all the people who sit on the board who are from the corporate world. This university, even though it's a public institution, is very, very much operating as a corporation, sell off the public assets. What we believe will be soon attempt to sell off the power plant. The national greed in this nation is very much a national greed here at the university. We will not escape that. Our job is to fight like hell against that.
I agree.
Our job is to form this coalition that I spoke about beforehand to help us fight against that. And so we need to put everyone collectively together to help move that particular tide. And as much as we talk about health care, many people see it as one of the greatest detriments facing the nation, period. And everybody is affected. Everybody. And we still, even in our cut, have what is being described, and what I happen to still know, as the best plan around. I don't want to give them kudos on that, because I think, and I told them, I came here with my two young boys because of the health plan, because of what I could get inside that health plan, because my kid got better care when I got here. I shared with them right there at the table that before I got here, I had a young child who got earaches on a regular basis, was always messed up. The day I started working here, I got that medical card, took my kid to the doctor began to treat him differently. The same exact doctor. Began to do different things to him. Told me, Kevin, we can deal with this because I presented the medical card from OSU University. That was a big plus to me. And many people have selected faculty members, everybody to come due to the benefit plan. So we all are attempting to hold on and to grab and as tightly as we can to those benefits. But there's an undercurrent. Some people are saying we don't want people coming for benefits. That was stated out loud at that table. All those people coming. Those are the kind of people we don't want. And I'm saying to them,
Helping people.
no, that's why people select to come here. And the faculty people are saying we're attracting faculty because of our benefit plan. Everybody is saying that was a draw for them to come. But there's a great force on the other end saying we're going to cut it irregardless. I want you to understand those conversations. And I'm in there trying to still hold on to all those wonderful things that make me come and make other folks come and other folks want to be here. But there is a great desire. And some of it I can understand. But I also hear people, well, how come America, this nation, our healthcare results are 27th in the known world. The results, our cost is number 1. We charge more than any other nation to get well, but our results are 27th. We line up against all other nations. That needs to change. So the pressure has been applied. Let's apply it on the back end. Physicians now are going to be judged on results. When people can just continue to go back for the same condition, they're not going to be paid. I want to finish. There is pressure everywhere on that animal called health care. But if we don't begin to stand up, kick back, keep ourselves informed, understand all the dynamic forces and where they're coming from, we really can collectively fight it. And often we get ourselves in a position where we're trying to hold on versus getting more. But due to what I spoke to you about, those penalties inside of the Affordable Care Act, and that penalty, and it is a 40% penalty, I was informed. That you will be charged 40% if you go over that amount in the Cadillac tax. And every corporation is scared of 40%. If you see them fight for 2%, 40%, they're scared to death. They're telling you, we are running from 40%, Jeff. That is huge. That's a huge penalty that corporations are trying to dodge. But it still doesn't mean that I don't need to know what's in the plan. I will go back to them. Because they need to be aware of what's there. And we need healthier results. Everyone from Medicaid, everybody is judging you on your results. Fix it the first time. Let's present it. Let's prevent it. Those are real conversations happening every day and pressure being applied based on outcomes. When before it was based, people were just hurting you in. We are moving to outcome based. So there needs to be pressure on both ends. And we also have to take self-insured for the most case because all of us are almost forced to go to the university hospital. So there's being pressure also applied for them to cap their costs. Every end is being attacked. Every end. And we, in the midst of that, still have the right to ask for all information that we can get. Wayne next.
You know, speaking of health care, we took something on like not only just here, as far as health care, it's not only just here, it's on a national basis too. You know, some of the health care, some of these little health care firms that throw their money into the GOP, as far as like, you know, the Republican side, one of the most notorious one is Humana. You know, as far as their insurance company, because you know, we trying to fight for affordable health care. They're trying to put a cramp on it. You know, it's all on corporate greed. This is insurmountable. You know, when we were sitting up here last Thursday, when it came to right to work training, we talked about right to work, and some of these companies are putting their money into supporting right to work. One of them that's also not only supporting right to work, but also putting a crimp on affordable health care is Humana. And I cannot stand them folks. Just to be honest, this is an FYI thing too. People need to be aware of it. All those Humana commercials that you see on TV, some of you might see them, some of you may not. You know, and they're full of it. You know, they throw tons of money in the GOP just to take away affordable health care. That's it. That's true.
Make a move.
Let me encourage each one of you. Cynthia and I work downtown, so we have an entirely different insurance package from you. And I can tell you, from being a person who went from having the university's insurance when my husband was working, to having the state of Ohio's insurance after he retired, the state of Ohio's insurance package sucks. And that's the truth. We have the worst package in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Things that were covered when Robert worked for the university are not covered under the state of Ohio's plan. So your plan may be bad. It may have a lot of issues, but trust me, Cynthia and I both will tell you, for what the state of Ohio is making us pay, it's ugly. I'm telling you. I'm getting bills now that I would not have gotten under Robert's plan in the university. So, you know, I say to you, Dave, call them. If you get a shady-looking bill, call them. You know, because your plan is better. It may be weak, but it's better than the state of Ohio's is offering. I'm telling you the truth.
It's 9 o'clock. Right. I'd like to make a motion. Like healthcare took over. You make a motion to. Can I get a second to? You can't do both of them. Dennis, what's it? Miracle, can you come up so we can do the drawing here?
We didn't vote.
Yeah, we need a motion.
No. All those in favor? Please say so by aye. Aye. All those against?
No.
Okay, no. Motion moved.
Yeah, we are adjourned.
I get outvoted every election I go to.
Too bad.
Too bad. Oh, Lord.
My candidate rarely.
For $50, the last 3 digits is 4.
Get your glasses, man. You might call the wrong number.
15. Is that 15? 415.
Oh, that's me.
All right.
Are you serious?
415. 415.
Oh, I take it. No, you didn't.
Look at Lynn. Lynn
I
crazy.
want $10. Money.
Come on, big man.
She crazy.
Don't church your begging me that.
Greg, get ready to want some money.
$50. 419. 419.
William, you ain't hitting the day, William? 419. Who's 419?
All right, that's all.
Anybody but...
Make sure you look at that number. Check that number out.
I got 419 right here. 413.
Okay. 413?
Right here.
Dave,
Yeah, go on, Dave.
that can help pay for that doctor bill you owe. That's all right, that's 52.
Dave.
How you gonna mess with man? You know you my guy. You know you my guy.
Dave.
Fred, get ready. Take it on away, Fred. Take it on away, Fred.
409, $35.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm money.